Welcome to part 3 of plugins, and in this video I'm going to basically go through the plugin section with you again, making sure that you understand everything. I'm going to make sure that you know how to deactivate and delete a plugin, because we did that already, but we didn't really go into proper detail as to do it correctly. So that's the first thing that I'm going to do. The second thing I'm going to do is the next gen gallery that we've installed. We're going to just have a look at it and play around. I'm going to show you the basics behind plugins, what you would normally look out for. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to navigate to plugins. And when you navigate it to plugins, you can see that we've got all our plugins listed as installed or active or deactive, right? You can see that my first plugin is not active, and yours would probably not be. I want to talk about that first plugin. It says it's used by millions, and this is developed by WordPress themselves, right? And the thing about this plugin is it's the best way of protect your blog from comment and trackboard spam. Now, one of the biggest problems we have, especially when you have a blog or a website, is the amount of spam that you can receive. If your site is not linked up correctly or your site is not developed correctly. So this little plugin allows you to actually go and activate it. But before we do that, I want to show you a couple of things that you can have a look at before you actually activate a plugin. You can see that this plugin is developed by Automatic, and Automatic is the like we said in the previous first video or the second video. So Automatic is the guys that actually develop WordPress, right? So this is a good plugin. It's got a very high version, like I said in the previous video, we need to look out for. And you can even have a look at the plugin site, right? So if we go to this site, you can see that it actually counts the many spam it is zapping and removing from people's blogs and websites. So if you want to know more about this plugin, you can read through that. And that's a good thing about if you have the correct plugin. It's got its own website. So if I go to this fancy box and I visit their site, you would see that they've also got they've either got a proper site or they've got a proper section on WordPress. And this is what I said in the previous video about ratings. If it's got a 4 or 5 star, that's fine, because you can see there's a lot of people that rated this plugin. A lot of people ain't happy with it, but there's more people that's happy with it, and that's important for me, is to know if a lot of people are happy with the plugin. And that's the plugin that we installed to actually have the photos pop up instead of having a extra window opened, which is a very boring way. So I want to go and activate this Estimate plugin, and the reason why I want to do that is because I want to show you that every time you activate a plugin, you can you have different settings regards to that plugin. So if we go and activate your Estimate account, so they're going to say create a new Estimate key, and there you can find, over here you can find an API key. And most plugins, especially when you work with plugins like Facebook and like what we're currently doing right now, the plugins has got an API that links towards the specific database. And that's another thing to look out for as plugin APIs. If you don't do that correctly, then you can have some issues with your plugin. Now, Estimate is asking me to create an account. I'm not going to do that right now, so I'm just going to deactivate it. But I want to actually go ahead and I want to deactivate Next Gen Gallery, and I want to actually remove it from the site. Now, you would see that you can't really highlight and go delete, right? The reason for that is because the plugin is active at the moment. If you're going to do that, you can actually break the site. So WordPress doesn't allow you to do that. So you first need to go and deactivate the Next Gen Gallery, and then once that is deactivated, you can hit delete. And if you hit delete, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to delete this? And when you say, yeah, I'm sure I want to remove that. And once you've done that, you will see that the plugin has been removed and everything related to that plugin has been removed. I'm not going to remove the Next Gen plugin because I'm going to use the Next Gen plugin to explain to you how to get a gallery going on your page, which is quite important, especially when you have, a nice site going with a couple of images or a couple of products. You can use the Next Gen Gallery. So that is in basic terms. I've covered most of the plugins. Another thing that you can have a look at is the active which kind of shows you, just filters out, it says, okay, these two are currently active. The inactive, which shows that, okay, there's three plugins currently not active. The recently active, which means that it was active, but it's been deactivated recently, and the update available. So this update is kind of like, okay, the next gen gallery has got an update, and what I can do is I can go say update right now. And you can see the right in the top in the toolbar, like I said in the previous video, it shows me like there's one update, and it's this update, right? It's showing me that there's one plugin that needs an update, and that's currently what we're going to do. I'm just going to go and update my plugin quick. And whilst this is loading up, I just want to, repeat this, and I've said this in the past, is always remember to update everything on WordPress. And that includes WordPress itself, the core of WordPress, and the plugins and the widgets. Make always sure that everything is updated and correct. Because if it's not updated, you can run into problems with your code, especially the core WordPress. If that doesn't update, there's some security flaws that can take place. So always make sure that your plugin you've got the latest version, and it is updated, it is looking good, and it's all fantastic, right? So you can see that this plugin, it takes a while to update a plugin. So you've got to sit down, make yourself a cup of coffee, and make sure that your plugin is updating correctly. So you can see that mine is doing its thing, it's updating. And that's the thing about, updating a plugin. You don't need to go and download anything. You just go and you press OK, update, and it starts updating your plugin, right? So whilst that is loading, the important thing to remember about a plugin, and I'm just recapping, is number one, always remember the version number, always remember the ratings, but always bear in mind the ratings versus the amount of people that rated the actual plugin. And thirdly, always make sure that the people that actually develop the plugin is an actual company and not a standalone person like that previous plugin that we had, right? So that is quite important, and that is quite that's quite crucial, especially if you have a website that you are developing for a client. You don't want that. You don't want some weird developer. You want some standalone guy that's developing a plugin, right? Because imagine your client is paying a lot of money for you to do this WordPress, and then the guy has got no support. And that's the main thing about plugins, is you always want some form of support, that that if the plugin breaks, or the plugin is inaccurate, or something wrong with the plugin, you've got some support, especially if you're paying for a plugin, right? But I would recommend not to pay for a plugin, because there's a lot of plugins out there that you don't need to pay at all, which is good quality, right? So that is basically in essence plugins, and I'm wrapping this up by going to the editor. And I've already been to the editor probably in the previous videos, but I want to show you that you can actually go to the editor yourself, and you can go and edit the actual plugin. You can go and edit certain plugins manually. They do not recommend that. If you are a good PHP developer, you can probably do that. Like I've done it a couple of times, because I'm a professional PHP developer. So I would just jump in and start altering someone's plugin to get what I want. But you always got to make sure that the plugin is not copyrighted, because you can get in trouble if you start selling that plugin, telling people that's yours. But if you're doing it for your own site, then you shouldn't have a problem. So my server is pretty slow, and the only thing that on the plugins editor section is basically the ability to go and edit your plugin, and that is quite nice, as I mentioned. So this is me wrapping up the plugin section, and this is me telling you that what, if you want a proper plugin, you know where to find it now. You know how to install it. You know how to double check that the ratings are correct, and how the versions are correct, and so forward and so forth. So that was